In the wake of the mass murder at a synagogue in Pittsburgh, schools in our area are on high alert and on edge. Many talking about what to do in order to prevent a similar tragedy. And of course, we've had this conversation over the past year about school shootings, violence in our schools and soft targets, religious institutions, etc. Some are considering, like in Long Island, armed guards in the school. Others are saying it's about resources. And one of those schools, one of the top schools for Jewish education in New Jersey, having this conversation right now. George Falkowski was in West Orange today. George?
Bill, ever since the shooting in Pittsburgh, Jewish places of worship and schools all across this country are on high alert as they try to balance security, faith, and their jobs as educators. We checked in at the Golda Ak Academy in West Orange to see how they're handling this.
The horrific tragedy in Pittsburgh this weekend has shaken all of us to our core. To think about and reflect, sitting here in our Jewish day school with students from grades pre-K through 12 on what it means to have now experienced the worst attack on the Jewish people in the history of the United States of America is beyond troubling.
Last June, Governor Cuomo approved an additional $2.1 million in funds for security for Jewish schools and synagogues on Long Island. And it's a pattern they'd like to see here in New Jersey.
We appreciate the efforts that have come here in New Jersey over the last few years to increase security aid, but it can still be better. We know what it takes to keep our students and our schools safe.
So the work goes on here at Golda Ak Academy as the educators prepare their students for the future, all while remaining ever vigilant.
We see this happen in Pittsburgh. We know that there are people out there who are bent on hate, but what are we going to do to make the world a better place? That's the question we ask our students. That's what we are working on instilling in them in those conversations about values every single day.
In West Orange, I'm George Falkowski for Chasing News.
Thank you, George. All right, let's bring in our A-plus panel for tonight's show. We are joined by immigration attorney Afia Yunus. Always good to see you, Afia.
You too, Bill.
Matt Rooney back with us, editor and publisher of the Save Jersey blog. Good to see you, Matt.
Always a pleasure.
Afia, I'm going to start with you. It's interesting now, it's kind of evolved from the school discussion to the religious discussion, horrific shooting in a synagogue. What is your take? You're a mom with kids in school.
I mean, the idea of having armed guards outside of my children's school is horrifying. The fact that we're even having that discussion is horrifying. I think everything needs to be on the table. And we do need to talk about security.
Because that's the circumstances we're in. I mean, take it to a religious institution. I mean, the president talked about this, that, you know, you have the right to carry in Pennsylvania. Had someone been armed? I mean, I don't know. There's no catch-all solution for any of this. But that said, what are your thoughts on a religious institution and armed guards?
And I think it's the fact that it's a religious institution, Bill. The word sanctuary came from a place of worship being a place of safety. And we've lost that. And I think that's what's so sad about this whole situation is now we're talking about security outside of places of worship.
I'm not offended by any steps a community wants to take to defend itself. I'm a Second Amendment guy. If it makes you feel safe to have armed guards, that should be your right. At the same time, I still don't believe America is nearly as hateful or dangerous as the 24/7 news cycle wants us to believe. It's not 1968. We as a democracy sometimes go through these cycles where there are bad actors and even just normal people have trouble communicating, but we're going to get through and we shouldn't fundamentally change the way we live.
I didn't think I would agree with Matt, but yes, I do agree. I was at an event in Camden County and packed, full house of people who are standing in solidarity and together.
But compared to the rest of the world, absolutely one of the safest places to be, for sure. Okay, thanks, guys. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, as funerals continue for the victims of the mass murder on Saturday, a gun threat prompted the closure of a school just blocks away from the Tree of Life synagogue. Officials say there will be more security in place for the services being held this coming weekend.